The other day, one of my subscribers emailed me telling me that about a year ago I made a promise to do a video showing my entire alcohol stove collection, and I never really followed through on that. So today I figured what I'd do is go through some, not all of my stoves. To go through all of them would probably be about an hour-long video. It's just too much. But what I've done here is I've taken representative samples from different groups of categories of different types of alcohol stoves, and I'm just going to go through some of them one by one and kind of show you design changes I've played around with and some things that worked and didn't work. So I apologize in advance. It's going to be a little bit of a talking hands video, but that's the best way to show them up close. What better place to start than with Pepsi-Style stoves, as that's usually the first kind of stove people make when they're getting into stove building. And speaking of firsts, this is literally the first stove I ever built in my life. And as you can see, it's a taped construction, so it's not really the best, but I didn't really know what I was doing back then, so it works great. Get a boil time in about 5.5 minutes or so, and every once in a while I still take it out and play with it, but even though it's not, the best design. But like I said, didn't have a lot of tools back then. I think here I've got my fourth. I usually put dates and notes on the bottom of these. Here's another one, again, tape construction similar to mine. My first one had, I think, more jets on it, but this was given to me by Hiker 2. This one was given to me by someone, I don't know, but it's got a kind of screw in here for a fuel port, which is a little kind of hard to use, actually. Here's another one I made. This one's just a little bit wider, a bit taller for more capacity. And this one was given to me by Tin Man, George Andrews from Anti-Gravity Gear. I think he gave me this one Christmas or something like that. But anyway, another kind of tape design, a little bit different, but they're all great stoves. I still really like them, and every once in a while I still use them, even though I've kind of moved on to more of an open burner style, which you'll see here in a minute. A lot of you may know that I was an early adopter of the Jim Wood Supercat stove, and I've recommended this to a lot of people just because they're so easy to build and you get really great results. The burn time is really good. My version is a little bit different than the original Jim Wood's version. First of all, I use a Whitney punch. I don't use drill or something to punch, like an awl to punch holes in it. So I use a Whitney punch with 2 different size holes, and then I wrap Kevlar wick around the bottom. This isn't fiberglass, it's Kevlar, and this is just to help prime it. You'll also notice that I put a little ring on the bottom here, just to give it a little bit more stability, and this is basically just cut off from the top of here. I just cut a ring out and then press fit it to the bottom, and that just makes it a lot more stable. Now, some people have complained about the fuel running out of these with the original 3-ounce cat food can. So what I did was I started making them out of aluminum bottles. And these are those aluminum beer bottles that you see. I think Budweiser makes them and other companies. Let's see. Yeah, Budweiser. Looks like here's one that I didn't paint. Here's one I made that's a little bit taller. It's got more capacity. And it's got this is fiberglass wick around the bottom to prime it. And then I've painted it with high heat resistant paint. I don't know why I did that, maybe just kind of the cool factor. It doesn't really seem to enhance the performance at all. So here's what the bottles look like when they're not painted. It's a Budweiser one. This one's really tall. And when I first started figuring out how to make one of these with more capacity, I tried steel cans, and those just don't work. They get all sooty and they don't really heat up well. So the aluminum bottles definitely work really well. If you're looking for a winter alcohol stove, one of these is pretty good. So one design, here's a better look at that ring on the bottom where it's press fitted to that. So this one doesn't have the wick on it. So someone invented another version of this. I don't know if you can see those holes. This one's called the cat eye stove, and it's a pretty cool design. Instead of punching or drilling holes, it looks like they cut a slit in here and then kind of bend it out. And I can't remember the name of the inventor right now, but she sent me one of these to play with. It gets pretty good results. This one, it's just a little tricky to make these come out the right way, to make the jets like that. So I still prefer to just stick with the old Whitney punch. It's a lot easier. You may also know that I'm a big fan of Tinny over at Mini Bowl Designs, so you're going to see some of his stoves here today, just a few of them. But these are some of my side burner stoves. Of course, Supercat's side burner too, but these are more pressurized double wall side burners. So probably my favorite one is the Mini Bowl Designs Elite. I really like this stove just because it's really small and it's a really hot burner. Again, all these are really good just for wide pots, but whenever I'm using a wide pot, I like to play around with some of these. This one, I can't remember the name of, and I think this is an older one because now he puts thumb screws in here, and this one doesn't have it. Same with this one. This is a Trek The Trek 2 now comes with a thumb screw that goes in there to help pressurize it too. Here's a little mini one someone sent me. I'm not really sure who sent me this, but it's, you know, basically almost, it's like a rolled kind of Pepsi-style stove almost with a wick on it. This is the AT. This is a huge stove Tinny made, and again, the later versions had the thumb screw, so this is a pretty old one. It's got some numbers on there. I don't know what that means, but this is for really big pots, and it's pretty, you can stand on this thing. It's so strong. So, and then this one, can't remember the name of this one either, but this one's cool. Again, monster stove. The jets are up here. I don't know if you can see them because of the black paint, but he really tricked it out and made it look really cool with the two different colors. I like that. And this one does have the thumb screw for filling the fuel. So, oh yeah, and then the white box alcohol stove. This is a really great design. Again, made out of aluminum bottles like the Super Cats I showed you earlier. And he takes the top, where the kind of neck of the bottle is, cuts that off and it inverts it and then rivets it. So this is a really clever design. The only thing I don't like about this is that it just takes forever to prime. There's just so much aluminum here that, you know, really takes a while to prime. But, you know, if you have a good priming pan, you're fine. Here are some, for lack of a better term, top burners, meaning that the jets are on the top of the stove and the flame comes out. These are typically better for narrower pots. And so, you know, if I'm using a narrower pot, I would select one of these. Some more mini bowl design stoves. This one is actually discontinued. It was called the SST. And this thing is like a jet engine. It seriously sounds like it's going to explode at any minute, and it sounds like a white gas stove. And there's only two really tiny jets right here. And what happens is, actually, sorry, there's one here and one here. And what happens is the flames hit here in the middle and heat this rivet up, which keeps the fuel hot. And it really, really, really roars. Maybe, you know, someday I'll have to make a video of this thing. It's just scary. It's like a white gas stove. But I think he discontinued this probably for fear of getting sued or something one day. Here's one I made out of a small aluminum bottle. And this one, it's kind of cool. It's got a really good flame pattern, but the problem is it pulses. And I think it's just the metal's too thick. So, you know, I never really got this one to work, and it's too bad because I really like the design. But here's another mini bowl design stove. This is the Nyan, and it looks a lot like the SST, except that this is a really slow burner. So it's almost like a candle flame, and you can actually adjust it by turning this one thumb screw here to different positions. You can make it, you know, go lower or higher, which is a kind of cool design. This one's very miserly on fuel. I can see it's got some fiberglass wick there for priming, and it's just all around neat stove. And you'll want to use a good windscreen with this one because it's a pretty weak flame, I should say. You actually can blow this out if you want. So, the penny stove. Lots of you have probably heard of this. Maybe a lot of you have built this. I made a couple of these, and you know, it's called the penny stove because here's your fuel port. Fill it up with fuel and put this penny on there, and that just helps to pressurize the stove. And it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 jets around here, and it kind of makes a almost like a star kind of pattern to it, to the flame. It's kind of cool. One thing I don't like about this is that the sides dent very easily because it's just, you know, a single piece of aluminum there. But I always thought about maybe trimming that down. I don't know if that would affect the stove performance or not. But again, if you're looking to try an alcohol stove and you don't have a lot of tools and you've never done it before, the penny stove is a good one to start playing around with just to get you going. Another mini bowl design stoves. Again, this is another one of my favorites. This is the Atomic, and the jets are on the inside here, and they kind of meet and form a very nice narrow flame. So again, this is good for narrower pots. And again, very, very efficient on fuel, burns forever. Really cool stove. My only disappointment is that it used to be a red color, bright red, and after burning it, it kind of turned brown. It was really cool cool looking when I first got it, but anyway, it still works great. Awesome design. I love this stove. And then lastly, I've got a Trail Designs stove here. This again is a very nice focused flame, and then it's got a built-in primer pan, which is kind of cool. I like that too. That also just gives a little bit more stability. So this is a great stove, good boil times, pretty good on fuel too. So these are great. Over the years, I've played around with some different designs that use insulation, and the simplest way to do that is you can just stuff some household insulation, kind of put in between your walls, in a 3-ounce cat food can. You can just leave it like that as an open burner, or you can try some different jet designs like I've done here. They don't work too well. I really don't like the idea of having this insulation in here. I think it maybe increases the efficiency a little bit with the wicking action. I've pretty much given up on it just because I don't think it makes that much of a difference. But I did play around with some different designs. Here's another one I made. This is kind of just like an open top here. And this has a little fencing in there to kind of keep the insulation from falling out. I thought that might have been a good idea. It's a tape design. Again, not a great stove, but it works. It was fun to play around with. Here's a tea light stove. A lot of you guys know that I like the tea light stove. I just stuffed some insulation in there, and I really don't like it. It kind of makes a yellow flame. You don't get that nice blue flame like you do with the regular tea light stove. Here's more of a Pepsi-Style stove, and this one actually has perlite in it. Perlite's that white kind of that substance that you see in potting soil to help improve I guess soil aeration or something like that. But you know, again, it works okay, but you get little flakes of the white stuff coming out, and eventually it's just probably going to empty out altogether. But it was fun to play with again. For a while, I started playing around with I think this is fiberglass cloth. It's called, and basically I just roll it up and stick it inside here, and then this is a wedding tin. And I made a little stand for it out of this fencing. Well, this wasn't very stable, as you can see. It's kind of weak stuff and it bends very easily. So then I made another design with hardware cloth. So this one's a lot more stable, a lot more rigid. I just epoxied it in there. I don't know if you can see in the bottom, there's little bent parts of the hardware cloth in, and then put some epoxy on there just to hold it in place. But anyway, this is a neat stove. It kind of acts, you know, if you put the pot right on here, the flames kind of come out the side. But in this case, the fiberglass definitely does make it more efficient. I mean, you get a nice blue flame, not like the household insulation stuff. Here's another one. Top burner, it's got some insulation in there. It's a mediocre stove at best. And again, like the penny stove, the edges can kind of bend here. So this one was given to me, and I think it was from Zelf, I'm not sure. And they even gave me this little kind of drinking mug with a kind of cool lid that's attached to here. I like this a lot, with a little Velcro closure. It's a pretty cool design. And inside I've got what I think is called the Starlight stove. And this looks like some kind of fiberglass insulation as a cover, and maybe there's some other stuff inside there, I don't know. But again, this looks like it might be a wedding tin as well, smaller one. But I haven't played around too much with this one, just because I'm getting away from the insulation, but it's a cool design nonetheless. And lastly, we've got the open burners. Now, a lot of you know that I like the tea light stove, and I carry it in this little plastic case with a Mr. Yuck sticker on it. Now, a lot of people have had the fuel run out on this, and you know, I've had pretty good luck with it. I can get 2 cups of water to boil, no problem with this. But in case that happens to you and you want to try it, they make a larger 1-ounce tea light. These are really hard to find though. I think someone actually sent me a bunch of these. I wasn't able to find them locally, but these give you all the advantages of the tea light stove, but the extra fuel capacity. So if you're lucky enough to be able to find these, then you know, you're set. But some other variations I've tried over the years is to use a bottle cut, or a pipe cutter, to cut the bottom off of a little can of travel-sized mousse, I think this was. And these work pretty well. They're more, well, they're stronger, let's say, than the tea light stove because it's thicker aluminum. These work really well, and the nice thing is, if you take the pipe cutter, you can make it as tall or as short as you want. So if you want more capacity, you can make it a little bit taller. Here's another aluminum bottle. I have no idea what this was. It might have been like shaving cream or something that I cut. And this has plenty of capacity for an open burner, and I epoxied a little fiberglass wicking on there for priming. One day I was in an arts and crafts store and I walked by this thing. It's a little miniature bucket. I think it's for a dollhouse or something like that, but this works actually pretty well for an open burner. I haven't found any use for these rings on here yet, but it just goes to show you, you always got to be on the lookout and you never know what you're going to find, but this works. Here's a wedding tin. Again, just for more capacity, I just took out the plastic insert here and then slapped on a wick for priming. Here's a Sergeant Rock ion stove that I made. This one, it's kind of cool, but it's weird to get the placement just right so that you really get the full benefits of the stove, and it's kind of slow, but it is really, really good on fuel. I'll give it that. It's a little tricky to construct, especially to get this center hole. You might need special tools if you want to make it look really good with good edges and everything like that. If you don't care about aesthetics, you just take an X-Acto knife and chop it out and then drill the holes. But anyway, it's a cool design. Here's another wedding stove with an integrated pot stand. This one never really took off as well as I thought it would, and again, I think it's because this metal is just too thick. And I don't even think this is aluminum. I don't know what it is, but maybe steel or something like that. But you can see it's all black here at the top. I don't think aluminum would ever do that. So, you know, not really a good stove, but just another design I played around with. Here's the famous brass light stove. I think this is a Turbo 1. And this is a cool stove. It's kind of like jewelry. It's really well made, cool to look at. And it's got this cool feature where you can block off the ports and do simmer. So if you want to, you know, really boil fast, just open it up. And if you want to simmer, you can just turn that off. And it's got the integrated pot support, so that's kind of cool too. And then, some of you may have seen this before. This is the Class Light stove. Yes, sorry for the stupid name. And basically it's a tea light that I just took some aluminum foil, I think this might be from an MSR windscreen or something, and attached it to the bottom just by folding these little tabs in here. I don't know if you can see those. And I epoxied the tea light right to that, so it's an all-in-one system. I don't really use this too much. It's okay, but you know, it's really not that big of a deal to just take your stove, put it down, and put the hardware cloth on there. But it's a cool stove, and you could also put the 1-ounce stove in there if you wanted to too. Okay, so those are some of my stoves, and if you've got a video showing off your stove collection, I'd love to see what you have. Feel free to do a video response or just send me a link to it.